Henry VIII's court did not survive by being loyal. It survived by noticing when loyalty had been redefined. The popular image of Henry's reign is a single powerful king surrounded by frightened people. But Henry VIII's court was not one room, and it was not one relationship. It was an operating system built from access, rank, family, patronage, religion, information, and signatures. To survive it, a courtier had to understand not only what the king wanted today, but what yesterday's service might mean tomorrow. At Hampton Court, architecture made power visible. Beyond the Great Hall, guards controlled entry to a sequence of chambers. The farther a visitor moved, the closer that person came to the monarch, and the more valuable that access became. Most people at court might rarely see the king. Favored courtiers could enter the withdrawing rooms and private apartments where formal policy and personal influence became difficult to separate. Access was therefore a currency. It allowed a courtier to present information, request favor, shape appointments, or quietly damage a rival. But access also made a person visible. The closer someone stood to Henry, the easier it became to be blamed when a policy failed or the king's priorities changed. Cardinal Thomas Wolsey learned that first. Wolsey had risen through competence and royal confidence to become Lord Chancellor and one of the most powerful men in England. He also transformed Hampton Court into a palace grand enough to entertain the king. But when he failed to secure the annulment Henry wanted from Catherine of Aragon, years of service could not protect him. Wolsey fell from power in 1529, and the palace he had built became the king's. The lesson was brutal. Usefulness was not security. Henry's marriage crisis then forced the entire court to choose positions. The question was no longer simply whether Anne Boleyn would become queen. The question was where authority came from. Could the king end his marriage without papal approval? Could Parliament redefine the church in England? Could a subject remain loyal to Henry while rejecting the legal language Henry now demanded? In 1534, the Act of Supremacy declared Henry supreme head of the Church of England. Political loyalty, religious obedience, and legal compliance became entangled. An oath or signature could now decide whether a person was treated as faithful or dangerous. Thomas More illustrates the trap. More had served as Lord Chancellor and was respected for learning and conscience. He resigned in 1532. He tried to remain silent rather than openly attack the king's policy, but silence did not free him from the system. Refusing the required oath was interpreted as resistance. He was executed in 1535. Silence could be dangerous, speech could be worse. Thomas Cromwell understood the new machinery better than almost anyone. He helped turn the king's marital and religious objectives into statutes, administrative systems, financial changes, and the dissolution of monasteries. His power came not from ancient title, but from the ability to translate royal intention into government action. That ability carried him upward. It also attached him to the results. Cromwell supported Henry's marriage to Anne of Cleves as part of a foreign policy strategy. When the marriage disappointed the king and the political calculation shifted, Cromwell's enemies moved. The minister who had helped redesign the state was arrested and executed in 1540. A courtier could be destroyed not only by opposing the king, but by successfully carrying out a policy that the king later regretted. This is why faction mattered. Families, religious reformers, conservatives, diplomats, household servants, and ambitious newcomers formed shifting alliances. A courtier rarely stood alone. Protection came from patrons and kin. Yet belonging to a faction meant inheriting its enemies and its failures. The king did not need to plan every rivalry. The structure encouraged people to anticipate him. Courtiers watched who entered the private rooms, whose letters received answers, who sat near the king, whose relatives gained appointments, and who suddenly stopped appearing. Information became a survival skill. So did ambiguity. Would you have spoken clearly, signed what was placed before you, or tried to remain silent? At Henry VIII's court, each option could be turned into evidence. The marriage and succession questions made the risk even greater. Each new queen reorganized hope around the royal family. A birth, miscarriage, accusation, or change in favor could alter the prospects of entire households. Courtiers who had attached themselves to one queen or one succession plan could find that their loyalty had become politically obsolete. This did not mean everyone at court lived in constant terror. The court was also a place of music, ceremony, sport, art, diplomacy, and opportunity. That is precisely why the system was powerful. People wanted to enter it. Access promised wealth, status, and influence. The rewards made the risks acceptable until they were not. The rewards explain why people remained. Court service could bring land, marriage opportunities, offices, gifts, and the prestige of being seen near the king. Clothing, ceremony, and position in a room communicated rank. A person excluded from one chamber might lose not only status, but access to the information needed to protect an estate or a family. Documents amplified that competition. Petitions, grants, depositions, council notes, and private letters could preserve one version of an event after the witnesses had changed sides. A courtier needed to know when to put advice in writing, when to avoid leaving a record, and when a rival's paper trail could be used as proof. The government Henry built was becoming more administrative at the same moment his personal decisions were becoming more dangerous. That combination made expertise valuable and disposable. A skilled minister could rise faster than an old noble because the crown needed capable administrators. But a minister whose power depended on royal work could fall with no independent base strong enough to save him. The most successful survivors did not merely flatter Henry. They learned to read the boundary between the king's public policy and private preference. They understood that a formal office could be less valuable than private access, that yesterday's alliance could become tomorrow's accusation, and that a document could outlive the conversation that produced it. Henry's changing health and increasing isolation later in the reign made the contest around access more intense. Councillors and household figures had greater reason to control what reached him and how it was framed. The king remained the source of authority, but the route to the king shaped how that authority moved. That is the mechanism behind the famous executions and reversals. Henry's court was not random chaos. It was a high-stakes filtering system. It concentrated access, made loyalty legally testable, and rewarded people for turning the king's wishes into action. Then it punished them when those wishes changed. The court learned to survive him by learning that loyalty was not a permanent status. It was a judgment made again and again, through doors, letters, oaths, marriages, and the dangerous memory of past service. A different kind of court would later produce a different kind of outsider. Rasputin held no office and commanded no ministry. Yet his access to the Russian imperial family made the public believe he stood behind the throne. That belief became power of its own.